What's up, everyone? I hope you all are doing good. Today, I want to talk about parents and their narcissistic behavior, as well as the vast majority of them thinking they're quote unquote good parents. Because to me, there's no such thing as a good parent. Now, been doing a lot of thinking, and I have come to realize that the majority of parents will automatically believe they are good parents because there is no rule book or guide to parenting at all. So most parents will do whatever they think is in the child's best interest and in their own best interest, and then pat themselves on the back and justify whatever they do to their children, whether it be morally good or bad. I mean, don't you guys think it's just crazy how there's licenses and certifications required to do certain jobs or be able to do certain tasks or be in certain positions of power or places, but in order to be a parent, there's nothing needed to be done except for banging and then pushing the little fucker out 9 months later. I mean, how easy is that? Like, why is there no license to breed or license to parent a child? There's literally no requirements needed whatsoever, and the government just lets anybody do it. Literally, evil criminals and sick minded individuals and terrible people can have children. It's ridiculous. But let me get back on topic. So, pretty much the vast majority, I believe probably more than 99% of parents, they all think they are good parents no matter what. They think they are good parents no matter what they do because there's no official rules or guidelines to being a parent. I've even heard other parents say stuff like, "You shouldn't tell me how to raise my own child." Like, how are you going to get mad at me for calling you out for unnecessarily abusing your child or neglecting them or treating them like they're a robot or some type of slave? I really hate when they try to pull that "don't tell me how to raise my kids" BS. Like, well, maybe if you stop treating your child like a piece of shit, if you stop hitting them for the smallest inconveniences, and also stop trying to control them in every way possible and let the child become their own person, then maybe I wouldn't say anything. Actually, I would say something. I would say you probably shouldn't have kids in the first place, but that's another story. There's no such thing as a good parent. I would even go as far as saying it's impossible to be a good parent, because how can you be a good parent when you brought a child into a world where even if you never do wrong by your child, someone or something else will? I promise you. You could do everything right for a child. You could always be kind to them, pay for everything, and support them in every single way possible, but then they could get cancer and die, or get hit by a car and die, or get shot by a robber, or get injured for the rest of their lives for due to some tragic event. Or someone can decide to abuse them, whether it be physically, sexually, mentally, whatever it may be. I hate how human beings will acknowledge and be fully aware that this world is a terrible place, but somehow still think it's a good idea to have children. And then when they do have the child, they want to try to apologize for bringing them into such a bad world. How can you apologize for something you fully, consciously did on your own terms? You literally knew the consequences, and now someone else, your child, will have to pay the consequences for your terrible decision. But you'll still follow through with it anyway. You'll still have kids just because, yay, children, they're cute, yay. Let's think about something here. Compare the amount of times you have heard a parent say they are a good parent or they're doing a good job raising their kids, and compare that to the amount of times you've heard a parent admit that they are not a good parent and they shouldn't have had children. I've never heard any parent say that they are a bad parent, because they all think they're good parents. They all think they know what's in the best interest for their child. For example, some parents may refuse to let their child use the internet or extremely limit the time they can spend outside with friends, or even go as far as installing cameras in their kids' rooms. Or the complete opposite, some parents may neglect their child and let a child do absolutely whatever, even if it may bring harm to them, and also not supply the child with its basic needs. But still, at the end of the day, they will say they're a good parent. Like, a child could spill a cup of juice. Literally just spill a cup of juice, and then the self-proclaimed good parent will resort to beating the living hell out of them just for that little accident. Or sometimes a child will even ask their own parent, "Why do you hurt me? Why do you treat me like this?" And sometimes the parent will say, "Well, I do it because it's discipline, and I do it because I love you." How can you say you love them when you brought them into this world against their own will, and then you decide to beat them for things that you know are going to happen, regardless of how many times you decide to beat them or not? What a piece of shit you are, really. And don't get me started on the self-proclaimed good parents who think they are good parents just because they do the bare minimum for their child. And what I mean by that is some parents think they are absolutely perfect just because they feed the child, provide housing for the child, and make sure the child is clean and clothed. Meanwhile, you're forcing your child to do things that they clearly don't want to do. You're not buying them things that they actually want while in the store. You're not taking them to any fun places. You're not making sure that they are okay mentally. And also, you're using harsh forms of discipline against them and also verbally abusing them. A parent and their kids can look normal to the outside world in public, but let's never forget the true evil that can happen behind closed doors that we do not know about. We truly have no idea. You can do the bare minimum and still be a terrible parent. Don't forget that. Imagine if there were no rules to be able to drive. Don't you think that everyone behind the wheel will always think that they are in the right, or that the other person is a bad driver and they're not? I mean, that's pretty much how it is in real life right now, to be honest. But you see why we need a license and certification to be able to drive. Let me give you another example. Imagine if there was no degree or certification or license needed to become a surgeon or a doctor, or whatever it may be. There would be millions, probably billions, of permanent injuries and deaths going on if this was the case, because everyone who signed up to be a doctor or a surgeon would have no idea what they were doing and not have the proper training to be able to save the person they are operating on. Literally, if it was that easy to become a surgeon or a doctor, there would be so many people thinking that they're a good doctor and what they're doing is in the best interest of the patient. There would be no such thing as a bad doctor in the minds of that specific individual. Now, let's look at parenting. There's no certification needed. There's no licenses needed. There's no training needed. There's no money needed. All you have to do is bang, push out the little piece of shit, do the bare minimum for it. Then after that, all the cards are on the table for everything else you decide to do to the child, whether it be good or bad. And then you can pat yourself on the back and call yourself a good parent. What a joke this world is. What a joke this world is to not put limits on people that are able to have children. I also really hate those I'm going with the flow type of parents. You know what I mean? The ones who say stuff like, parenting isn't a job, it's a learning experience, it's a journey. But they want to know something? They literally only say that to justify their wrongdoings against the child. They say these things just to cover up how much of a piece of shit they are towards their own children, towards the way they treat their own kids. They love to come up with excuses and cover-ups to save their image to the public. If that isn't narcissistic, I don't know what is. Not only is it narcissistic, it's also just plain old evil. Like, you can't slap a band-aid on abuse. You can't slap a band-aid on neglect. You can't slap a band-aid on being broke. You can't just slap a band-aid on literally bullying your own child. You can't slap a band-aid on being overprotective or a control freak. Most importantly, you can't slap a band-aid on life itself. And what I mean by that is, even if you do all the right things towards your child and never do any wrong by them, and you have the best interest for your child, and you care about them, you love them, you give them everything you need, even if you do all those things, don't forget that life is out there, and it's going to bite your child in the ass. Don't forget that life is going to get them one way or another. Someone or something is out there and it's bound to come into your child's life and fuck it up for them. So unfortunately, there's just no such thing as a good parent. I wish there was. I wish I had an answer for the definition of a good parent, but I can't give you a definition because like if you bring somebody into a world that is not great to begin with, how the fuck can I call you a good parent? Well, I guess you can say a good parent is someone who decides not to have children at all, like us antinatalists. But yeah, so unfortunately, there is no such thing as a good parent because even if you do all the good, righteous things and you have the best of intentions, that doesn't mean everyone else will, or literally the world itself will. I mean, like you can have a child and you can raise them good and do all those things I said, right? But whether it be by nature or some person, they can just ruin everything, like a car crash or a tornado or a child just walking down the street and then they get caught in a crossfire between some idiots having a gunfight. I mean, there's just so many possibilities that can happen to your child. And the saddest part is you're not going to be able to do anything about it. Like, if your child gets raped or kidnapped, you're literally not there. And I think about this sometimes. Like literally as I'm speaking right now, somewhere on the globe right now, there's probably somebody getting raped. There's probably somebody getting tortured right now. As we're listening right now, there's probably somebody getting their fucking arms cut off. Or somebody getting hung. Or someone getting beat to death. Or run over by a car. Like, you can just think of anything. Anything you think of bad, it has happened. Trust me. Anything you can think of. Let me think of something right now. Something random. Someone went to the zoo and the gorilla broke out the cage and killed them. Bet you that has happened hundreds of times. Like, anything you can think of, it has happened. But I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you to anyone who's listening, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.